morning, everyone, and welcome to the April meeting of the Lextran Board of Directors. Our Chair, Harding Dow, will be here momentarily. Until then, our meeting will be led by our Vice Chair, Ms. Jamie Rogers.
All right, the first thing is our roll call. We will skip Harding. Paul Schoninger.
Here.
George Ward. Lady Borges Gonzalez. Here. Judge Thurston.
Good morning.
Good morning, thank you. All right, we will now go on to public comment on agenda items on the agenda. Is there any public comment? And I think I see there was someone with public comment, Emily?
No.
No?
Oh, I was told there was. Okay.
Okay.
My apologies.
All right, so no item, public comment, and so Harding, we got started. We are on public comment on agenda items. We now have quorum, so we can move on to approval of minutes if you want to leave that.
Fantastic. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the March 2025 and April 2025 work session? And are there any comments or edits? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve of both the March and April minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Paul. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, lady. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We won't have a chair's report except to say that I apologize for being late, and we will move into the general manager's report.
Thank you, Harding. I want to report on the Transit Center renovation. We are now a few weeks into the project. Demolition is underway. Our operations continue to be on High Street. Things are running fairly smoothly there. So a pretty short update. We're so far on target, on schedule, on budget. Things will probably get more interesting as we go, but yeah, we're off to a good start.
I will add a chair's addendum to the
Sure.
general manager's report, which is to say that I had a conversation with an 86-year-old woman who rides the bus every day, and whatever education or information that you have been giving riders has been exceptional because she had zero problems navigating change in the transit center drop-off places.
Very good. Thank you for that feedback.
Is this going to be a reoccurring item until the transit center is completed?
Yes.
Great. And I had also heard similar feedback is that just from the general public, they see several people out there navigating people to help figure out routes.
Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, I just catch my breath. I apologize.
No worries.
We'll move to the performance report and financials.
Thank you. Good morning. So today we are going to review the performance report for March 2025, and we will start with our mission. We serve people in our community with mobility solutions. So we're going to start with the highlights for March. We had several key initiatives that supported our commitment to safety, workforce development, and community engagement. So the first one, and you can see this picture of sort of the area that's being worked on, is we started our maintenance CNG upgrade project on March 10th. So it's enhancing the safety and infrastructure of the space, and they are progressing well. The company that we're working with has been doing a great job in communicating and working with and around our staff, and so we're really excited on that progress and how we're moving forward. During the week of March 17th, we had over 100 operations staff members complete the Smith System defensive driving training, and so that's a training that helps reinforce safety culture. It's sort of it's 5 points of reminders of things that you can do to defensively drive and maintain sort of safe spacing, moving your eyes, looking around, and getting the big picture, which is one of the keys to what's going on around you as you drive your vehicle. On March 18th, it was Transit Employee Appreciation Day, and all staff got box lunches that day. And then you'll hear a bit more on this from Randolph, but we held our 4 paratransit listening sessions in collaboration with RETP Dev to engage customers and gather feedback. So for ridership for March, we did have an increase in ridership from February. It does remain down overall, and I'll go ahead and you can see that here. It does remain down overall for fiscal year 2025. We've been looking into where those changes have come from, and it looks like We've seen a decrease on Route 14, the UK Blue-White route, which runs on campus. So we're trying to figure out why that's happening, but that is one of the places that we have been consistently seeing some decrease in the ridership. It looks like from February of this year, we were at 292,000, which is up about 10,000 rides from February.
Emily, can you remind me what that is? What is that route, like from where to where? The blue-white
So
route?
it's a circulator on campus, and so it operates in both directions, so clockwise and counterclockwise. If you think of the bottom anchor being Kroger Field, the stadium there at Kroger Field, and sort of the top corner of that being Gatton Student Center, and then operating sort of through University Drive, down by the 90, through Greek Row, and around to the Avenue of Champions, and then in the other direction over to Nicholasville Road, down by the hospital campus, back up and around.
And
Does that give you?
Yeah,
That
that's
okay?
super helpful. I didn't know if we had that. So it's basically the whole route.
Yeah.
Of UK, and there's no specific spot we see less or more rides.
Right. We're trying to get more information over it. About it. So we're just trying to see. We know from other conversations that the movement around campus and the movement of students on campus is different than it has been in the past. There's record enrollment, but there's also record online enrollment. So how students are moving, how folks are moving on campus, the different options for moving on campus are essentially, it changes constantly. It's greater than it's ever been. It's less than it's ever been. It's all these sorts of things. So we're trying to understand, is it the way that students are moving on campus? Is it the way that staff are moving on campus? Is it that there is not as much movement on campus itself? It's still a very productive route. A handhold route is Route 15, which runs on Red Mile, which gets folks, many times a lot of students from that Red Mile, Angliana area over to campus and works in conjunction on Nicholasville Road with this route. Still seeing, strong ridership trends on that route as well. So there's a lot of question marks right now, and we're just trying to figure out what exactly is going on. And really, we periodically see people move differently in the city, and so are we seeing it sort of a shift in that the way that campus is working?
And assume we work with the campus transit team to understand like what trends that they're seeing.
Yeah, we work closely with them.
And it also includes the hospital, like you could use that route to get to the hospital.
You can use that route to get to the hospital. The university operates, they call it hospital route, specifically for like employees to get to and from. So they
That's
work
not
together.
election.
They're not in competition with each
Okay.
other, but they do work together. And then I believe that route also serves patients who are working to get from some of the ancillary parking to the hospital, and not just your hospital shuttle route.
Okay.
So there's a
we're
lot
really
of options over there, but
But we're really talking about staff and students. We're not talking about the hospital and that
yes,
traffic.
we're likely
Okay.
looking at staff and students, yeah. And so the hospital would be a sort of a lower. And then if we're talking about patrons from all over the city getting to and from the hospital, they could utilize this route, but typically we're gonna see them on Nicholasville Road on Route 5. Thank you. Okay, so for safety, we had one preventable accident for the month, which is great. That's down. That's well within the range that we would expect. There were no workers' comp claims. The injury frequency rate was 0 for the month. I did want to comment on the days of lost time. Has to do, you're going to see those numbers go up with the number of people and the amount of time that they are off. So someone potentially could be off for a long period of time, so you're going to see that number go up when they're off for a long period of time. If multiple people are off even for 2 days at the same time, you're going to see that number go up because of the number of people, so it can compound a little bit. And just wanted to make sure that we understood that this could be someone who something may have happened several months ago and they've been off, so that number will continue to grow based on them being off versus necessarily the volume of claims per month. They work together but also can work sort of independently of each other. So for maintenance, we operated 13,110 miles between road calls in March, and 62 of 62 preventive maintenance inspections, still at 100%. I just really want to give credit to Chris and his team. They are working right now. We've had multiple vendors on site for multiple months there is active construction going on in their workspace, and they are still operating at 100% with preventative maintenance. They are still getting these road calls, doing a really, really great job. So just want to say thank you to them. We really appreciate them, and they are sort of rolling with the punches of all of this and making it happen. And you know, we talked about the importance of our fleet. We talk about the age of our fleet, all of these things. And if these folks are not sort of on the backside, they're not the people that you see out on the road every day making this happen, then the people you see on the road every day can't function. So kudos to them. It's been a little wild in the maintenance shop, a lot of moving parts, and they're continuing to do a great job. So I have a little, do you all have any questions? We're gonna change gears just a little bit momentarily.
I have 2 questions.
Yes, please.
So overall, this is what you were explaining, we're about 300,000 fewer rides this year than we were last year.
Yes.
Which seems pretty significant.
Mhm.
But then we're almost identical in terms of paratransit where we were this year to last year.
Mhm.
And then we're at that 14,000, and this is more of like long-term. Like, do we predict we'll get back to that 20,000 per month? That's a hard question to ask you, but
I think we move forward under the assumption that we will, because that way it forces us to be prepared for increased demand on the system. I think that's the
Yeah.
way that I would look at that. Let's prepare for those increases in ridership, because we have so much community conversation around things like aging in place and growing populations. We're opening the new senior center soon. So I think my take on that would be, let's assume yes, and that way we can deal with less trips if that's what comes to pass.
thank you. And then to that other one, do you think that the majority of that is just every month we're seeing slightly less traffic on the blue and white route? Was that what you were saying?
That's what we've been seeing,
Okay.
yes. And some routes, we, as a department, we look at it regularly, and so sometimes it will be one route or another, but the Route 14, the blue-white route, has been consistently lower.
And then our annual audit, it's October when we usually do that.
For
So
the
if there's
agency
anything
audit.
in terms of data collection that's kind of gone sideways, we'll pick that up at that point in time.
And so we only, have 2-3 months left in the fiscal year? Because I think this is backdated.
May and June.
April, May, June.
So we'll probably end the year with 350,000 fewer rides than last year, which is an interesting trend. But still really like close to 3 million rides for the year, which is amazing.
And I think that's something that we're going to have to continue to talk about. Our ridership is probably going to level off. You know, I think we've seen the pandemic ridership come back to the level that we're going to see the pandemic ridership come back. So at this point, if we're looking to really increase ridership, that's going to require those investments to drive that.
And then, this is a very random, we do all the travel training, which is great. What's the Kappa Boys Club?
So Kappa Club is it's a focus group for young men at Leestown Middle School. And so they focus on everything that you would need to learn as a young person to move forward in your life. So like when you arrive, they shake your hand, they introduce themselves, they ask you a question about yourself, they then take you and introduce you. So for, I believe, my entire tenure, so I'm gonna say somewhere, this is the 7th or 8th year we've worked with them, we go and do a presentation about how to ride the bus, and then they go after that on their own. We provide them with passes. They usually go on a Saturday, and they go to Fayette Mall from the middle school. There's about 30 young folks in there, and so there's some mentoring involved from older students to younger students, mentoring, but different community partners work with them all the time, and it's a really, really great, super respectful group. They tend to have really poignant questions. They will absolutely give it to you with their questions. So it's a great partnership, and we've worked with the middle school for, I think this is my 7th year doing it.
And because we do a lot of
My
travel
7th year.
trainings every month, is that they just reach out, ask for training, someone goes and does a short training?
Yeah,
with
so
that group?
Julie Moon, our community engagement coordinator, she typically provides these trainings. And so we have community referrals, we have self-referrals, we have referrals from paratransit. So someone who signed up for paratransit, we ask them, are you interested in learning to ride the fixed drop bus as well? So for some folks that's new, for some folks it's not. And so they self-refer, we schedule with them, and then Julie gets out there and rides the bus with them and teaches them everything they need to know.
Those are all of my questions. Thank you, Emily.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, just one moment, as an addendum to what she just said. Our team has also been very helpful and active in training students in our juvenile treatment court on how to navigate the bus system. And that means the world to me as a board member and as the judge of that court. So I just wanted to let everybody know that.
Thank you, Judge.
We train people all over, all walks of life, young, old, new to Lexington, lived here forever. So it's a great door opener for folks, whether it's a necessity or something they're just interested in. So I wanted to give you all a little ramp update. We just completed phase 4, which is our solar lighting project. And so the map you see there is the location of all of the shelters that received a solar light. There were 29. So there were a few existing solar lighting elements throughout the city, but that brings our total to 33. So these 29 were all fitted with the same kit. And I have a picture on the next slide of what that looks like. And so there's a solar panel on top of the roof of the shelter, and then the light is installed underneath, and it provides light down into the shelter. So it's a great opportunity for someone to feel safe, be able to navigate more safely in and around the shelter, and then also it helps operators see folks inside the shelter during those difficult hours when it's hard to see folks. So we shared a little social media post yesterday, since it was Earth Day, talking about the solar shelters. But you can see there on the far side the solar panel, that it's fitted very flat on top, and then the light, while not big, is quite bright. They're really nice. Down into the shelter. So they provide enough light to see in and around, but it's just a really nice aspect for folks to be able to feel much safer and be able to sort of not be sitting in the dark at a shelter. So looking back at the RAMP program, we've invested approximately $1 million since the beginning. We have documented 113 improvements. So you'll notice that I didn't say stops. That's because some shelters have been placed in the last couple of years that have received a solar light this time. We've also done some improvements to stops where we added a full shelter, a boarding pad, and a trash can at one time. So that stop got the full workup. It didn't, need another iteration of an improvement. Some stops have had a boarding pad added, and later on had a trash can added. So when you're counting the volume of stops and the volume of improvements, they are a little bit different. And then we are gearing up to do more solar lighting throughout the city, and some additional stop improvements later this year.
Emily, how did we determine which shelters got lights?
There are a number of ways. So the funding was provided through a 5310 grant, which is improving mobility for seniors and people with disabilities. So we looked at quality of life activities for folks. We looked at multifamily housing, senior supportive housing for people with disabilities as sort of a bounce point. Once we moved from there, we also did a light audit. So how well lit? Does this shelter already have a light? Is it directly under a street light? Those sorts of things. We worked with Toller, who we have a contract with for bus stop amenities, and they have a full program where they will do an assessment on each of the shelters to say this qualifies for a solar light, the solar light will not be effective, and so it is not a good candidate. And so we narrowed it down, pushed through that. Some of our shelters do not qualify because of the structure of the shelter. Most of those are old and beyond their useful life, and so we're also looking at bus stop conditions. We're reassessing what is beyond its useful life, what has had some damage done to it that's sort of like it's rusted out and gotten a hole in the top, but no one's reported it and you really can't see it. Our maintenance folks do a good job of taking care of them and checking them out. Does a shelter need painted versus does the roof have a hole in it are two very different stories, right? So once we did all of these assessments, then we kept going back and refining the list and coming back and forth. And then we've continued that and are continuing to, once we get our list, we send it to Toller. They check out the conditions in the area, and then they let us know if it's an appropriate candidate for solar. We think, we can definitely put a solar light there, and then they're like, well, this building and the trees and the way that the shelter faces and all of that is a determining factor. So
Sounds very thorough, thank you.
it's a long process.
And when we say since the beginning of the program, does that mean just since we started building bus stops?
No, that's since the beginning of RAMP, which I believe we started in 2019.
18 or 19, yeah.
Yes. And so some of that information has been compiled together in a pretty comprehensive way. But some of the information is a little bit more scattered before that. And so to get sort of more of an accurate, we just gave that parameter as RAMP as the specific program, and then going from there to get an accurate understanding of the type of investment that we
But we were doing investments into shelters before that, just. Okay.
Absolutely, 100%, yes. Mhm. Thank you.
All right, so on the paratransit side, let's see. All right, so on the paratransit side, for the month of March, the ridership numbers came in at 14,665, which is a slight increase from the previous month by about 1,800 or so riders. It is continuously in trend when compared to the previous fiscal year. When compared to the fiscal year 24, the total ridership numbers slightly fell down by about 734 riders. The total weekday ridership continues to remain strong. And as you can see, the Saturday and Sunday ridership takes a slight decrease, but a lot of that Saturday and Sunday ridership kind of swells up into the weekday ridership overall, keeping the total ridership within the trend line. The total revenue miles came in at 84,493. Total revenue hours remain strong compared to the previous fiscal year, and the trips per hour stays in line with the trend at 2 trips per hour.
Randolph, I recall last time we talked about this, that you all had a target trips per hour number that we were trying to hit. What is that?
It's the goal is 1.7 trips per hour. The target is 2 trips per hour, at least 2 trips per hour.
Got it, thank you.
On the preventable, on the safety side, we had 4 preventable accidents for the month. Fiscal year 25 compared to fiscal year 24 is still below. Accidents per 100,000 miles is 3.83. Days with no preventable accidents is at 27. All right, so for the paratransit on-time performance, which is a topic that is a stressful conversation to have, the monthly OTP compared to the audited OTP, as you can see from the trend lines, for the previous month of March, shows a gap. The green line is the monthly OTP, which takes a lower point on the display on the sheet, and it comes in at about 66%. However, you see the audited information take a trend forward at 72.29%. The reason why you see the trend shift is because the more information that we audit on the reconciliation process that we created, the larger the gap gets. So some of the contributing factors to that gap would be us auditing the raw information from Equaling for trips to put them in the right category as far as what trips are on time versus what trips are late. A great example of that would be if an operator yet again arrives to a location, let's just say 5 minutes more than the pickup time. The operator's trip is categorized as an early trip, and that's not technically on time. However, if the customer wants to take that ride, we do not penalize RTB Dev Wheels as an early trip. We count that towards the on-time performance as on time, which kind of shifts that reconciliation process of the monthly OTP raw data versus the audited OTP data.
Can I make one comment here about the audited information?
Yes.
So it seems like 8 of the months, the audit was slightly above. And then 4 of the months, it was slightly below. So on average, when we tend to audit, it tends to show that it's a better on-time performance.
So the way the information is pulled from EcoLane is based off of the actual scheduled time, and it has a window for the pickup. So the pickup has a 15-minute before and a 15-minute after window, and the scheduled drop-off trip has a no more than 30 minutes before up to the exact appointment time. So when we pull that information from EcoLane, from the actual reporting system, we use one target number, which is 15 minutes before, 15 minutes after.
Okay.
So depending on how many trips and how it's categorized, it shifts it either at the top or at the bottom. When we look at the raw information, we have to kind of move things to the right kind of direction. So a great example of that would be a will call. A will call, you have 1 hour wait time. So if you call and say that I'm ready to be picked up at 7 o'clock for an example, then we have until 8 o'clock to pick you up. Maybe we have an operator that's right around the corner at that specific time that you call, and we get there at 6:59, which is 1 minute earlier than the requested time. So the system will automatically make that trip early. However, we go into to do the reconciliation process, and we move that trip toward the on-time category. So that kind of shifts the data.
Yeah, I understand the process. I guess my comment was more of just like, when we tend to audit, it actually shows that we're doing better than when we don't audit.
Yes,
That
ma'am.
was-
Randolph, do you have an indication of trips that are not on time that are early versus late? I mean, is it, 10% of them, or is it?
The early trips account for about 4%.
4%. That makes a big difference.
So just to kind of give an overview, in addition to that, you have about 2% is counting for no-shows, about a third is accounted for subscription services, and about 8 to 10% is accounted for late cancellations as well, less than 2 hours. All right, so we also did the listening sessions in the month of March, which is the highest amount of attendees that we've had since we've conducted the listening sessions. We had 45. I think it was about 10% increase compared to all the rest of the paratransit listening sessions. We chose to do 2 additional locations this go round, and then we repeated 2 locations as well. So the 2 repeated locations that you see is going to be Briarwood Apartments and Christian Towers, and the 2 new locations would be the Black & Williams and the McLeod's Coffee House. So I give a huge kudos to McLeod's Coffee House as well as Black & Williams, and not to forget Briarwood and Christian Towers too, but they did a huge job at advertising the listening session. So we do put it on the websites, we do try to do word of mouth as well, but we had a huge turnout at both Black & Williams and McLeod's Coffee House by the advertisement that they did, the facilities did.
So we had 45 attendees across all 4?
Across all 4,
Okay.
yes.
So an average of a little more than 10 for each.
Yes. The top concerns during the listening sessions was subscription trips. So the main concern or question, what have you, was what was the parameters around subscription trips? Some are new to the service, and some are not familiar with subscription trips. So mainly the point is same trip origin, same time, at least 3 times a week. And that's a subscription service. The second one was drive-in service limitations. Can the operator open my door? Can they close my door? Can I hold their arm? Are they allowed to touch me? Am I allowed to touch them? Things like that. So we kind of went over the how-tos and how to assist and how do we conduct door-to-door service. And then last but not least, the main topic was timeliness. So a lot of the concerns we were able to address, and some of the things that we weren't able to address, we wrote down, and then we immediately got back to some folks. During the listening sessions, we provided information on the mobility app, the rider's guide, and then also we gave tidbits on conversations that included how to cancel your ride and different points of Q&As that usually the folks have about cancellation processes. So I brought with me It's right here, I'm sorry. I brought with me some of the information that we kind of go over during the listening sessions, which is, this is the typical rider's guide, which is about 17 pages thick. It's kind of hard to consume all the information that's in here page by page. Even I don't remember every single page, and I have to keep turning pages constantly every day when I'm asked a question. And then we also have different versions of the same rider's guide. We keep it in a large print form, a standard print form. We have a Spanish form as well as Mandarin. And then any form, any document that's requested by someone, we can also print that in different languages as well. So what Emily and her group did, her team did, was provide us with small information on the mobility app. It kind of gives you a viewpoint of what it looks like on your mobility device and how to sign up. So you actually have to reach out to RATP Dead Wheels in order to sign up. But this is what it kind of looks like from the mobility app. And then also just kind of like a refrigerator piece of art. And it kind of gives you the customer service hours, which is a frequent question that's always asked, how to cancel, and it's multiple forms of ways to cancel, and then also how to sign up for the app, just some instructions. Included in that was, instead of carrying around a 17-page document, she also was able to make a quick guide. So the quick guide is pulling the information from out of the document, kind of bringing it straight towards you. And this is also a refrigerator magnet. So as you see, you got a QR code on here that'll get you directly to the quick guide on your phone. And then also some just important information that's usually asked. Same thing as the this mobility app tab. It gives you service hours, frequently asked questions, how to ride the service, gives you information on the differences between the type of trips and the types of services that we provide. In addition to that, we were able to register in totality, registered app users at 180 in overall.
So is that to say, I think you said we had about 1,800 users last month, so only about 10% of them are using the app.
So every time we get a new reservations, we always push using the mobility app. You're not able to actually reserve a trip on there, but you are actually able to cancel your ride, see where your vehicle is, see the actual vehicle number, see how many stops that you have before, and if you're on the bus, you see how many stops you have just before you get off. So.
But you just said you can't reserve a ride on the app.
You can't reserve a ride, but you can cancel a ride and see all of see everything about the trip that you currently have.
And maybe we should walk through why you can't reserve a ride. Most of it has to do with the negotiation process, right?
Correct.
And we need to speak to a human to work out the negotiation. So maybe touch on how the trip is negotiated.
So if you want to schedule a ride and you request a time, we negotiate within a 1-hour window of your actual scheduled trip. So if we can't accommodate within a 1-hour window, what we tend to do is we force it, and EcoLane optimizes the trip constantly. So with a 14-day schedule, it has 14 days to keep optimizing. So as long as people cancel or things start shifting around, the trip also shifts around as well, all the way up until the point of picking you up. And we also have a live person in there doing the same thing, manually.
But it is a human negotiating the times?
Yes. So when you call in, you're talking to reservationists, and they're actually walking through, reading back your subscription, your profile, making sure that the address is correct, making sure that the mobility device is correct, and also meeting the needs of exactly what you want. So you do have individuals who call and say, I have to be at a birthday party, but the birthday party starts at 12. We need to understand, are you asking for a pickup or are you asking for a specific drop-off? So we kind of guide that conversation in the way that you talk to us.
But that seems like something a tool could do.
I
Seems
think
like a lot
that
of manual labor going into negotiations.
Byron, you might want to shed some light, but I think that the app has the ability to reserve a trip. The function is turned off.
And part of the reason we can't deny a trip.
Correct.
When you say we're forcing in the trip, that's where instead of letting technology do it, we need to make sure that that your team is aware of that this trip has to happen.
exactly.
Right.
So there's not a space, we just have to force it in.
In the app currently, like, it doesn't allow you, if the algorithm wasn't working, it can't say, it can't force it to another time, which is
Correct.
why we're using humans to do it.
Yes.
Get more overbooked than we already are.
Before you leave, I have a question on paratransit. I see we had 4 preventable accidents, so like 30% of all of our accidents this year were this month. Was there anything out of the ordinary?
It's the summer shining. Usually when there is, usually when it's a brighter day, it's less focus, and that's the honest truth. So one of the things that we focus on is the use of the cameras that's in every single vehicle that records the top movements. And one of the top movements for the previous month was fixed objects, unfortunately. So every safety meetings kind of trend toward the top movements of the month.
And then since I was looking at that, our preventable accidents are almost double this year what they were last year. Any reason for that? And I don't know who's that question to.
Steve might be able to fill this
Yeah, in
in.
January, we had a really bad month. We had, I think, 20 accidents. Altogether, 10 were non-preventable and 10 were preventable. And some of them were multiple, the same driver multiple times. And so, not in that month, but overall, that's what our increase was from. But we're kind of back into that normal range
Okay.
of having 2 to 3 accidents
And
a month.
also, that's why we push for the Smith system training, right?
Yes, yeah, our push was to get the Smith system defensive driving. Every time we have that refresher, we try to do that at the very minimum of every 2 years. Every time we have that, we usually have a lowered rate. So
Thank
that's why
you.
we keep doing it, because it works.
Leading up to the month of the first 3 months of the year, you usually have a lot of weather-related events. We had the flood, we had a few snow days as well. So,
Thank you. And then to comment on the comms, whoever does it, Emily and your team, I think that we do one of the best jobs of like very simple, user-friendly comms of any government agency in Lexington. So I just want to compliment that.
any other questions?
Thank you, Randolph.
Good morning.
Morning.
We're reviewing the financials for March. We are 9 months through the fiscal year. We are at a very good point for this time of the year. We will receive, of course, the least amount of property taxes that we will receive, of course, will be April through June. So you will see that slowing down on the other side, or on the financial statement. On accounts receivable, I wanted to mention that one. We are showing negative at this time because there is a June 30th entry that we need to make where we move things around from accounts receivable to from work in progress, what we received, what we're still working on. So that is a June 30th entry, but that is why you see that as a negative. Everything else looks really good. We are very close to last year, so there's nothing that stands out at this point. Anybody have any questions on the balance sheet? Okay, on our statement of revenues, like I said, our property taxes, they're very close to the budgeted amount. We did receive $380,000 this month, so we are about where we're supposed to be. We actually received more than we did this time last year, so I think we're at a good point. Our passenger revenue, Emily talked some about that. We are a little bit under budget. We are over what we were this time last year, but we are under budget barely by $5,500. Federal funding, and that will remain the same until June 30th, and we will, when we do everything, all of our June 30th entries with all of our grants, but this should remain the same through the end of the fiscal year. Wages, staffing is a good position at this point. We're in line with where we thought we would be at this time of the year. We're very, very pleased right now. We've had some really good classes. We've had some some very, very good trainings and classes, and I think we're at a very good point for this time of the year. Our fringe benefits are still a little bit under where we were, had so many vacancies for earlier in the year. Professional services is under budget for this time of the year. We will see some of that go up with the springtime, and we have some contract maintenance with some of the vehicles that we're waiting on some invoices to pay. And some of those for engine rebuilds, things like that are higher invoices, so we will see that. Materials and supplies, as I feel like a broken record every month I say that this is because of parts. The bus parts have become more expensive, obviously, and Chris has really done an analysis on the parts and noticed that the electric bus parts have really gone up, so we continue to watch that line item. We are very pleased with diesel at this point. We are running a monthly average for for March was $2.35. Our fiscal year average is $2.39. So we're hoping to stay within this range. Our fuel other is the CNG, and we are very close at this point to using more CNG than we are diesel, and it's running about $1.35 a gallon. So that's $1 less a gallon. I like that. So we really like CNG. Our insurance, as I mentioned before, is property and liability insurance. Paratransit expenses are under budget at this point. This is about where we expected to be for this time of the year. And everything else we're very happy with. We're under budget at this time, so I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Where do you think we'll end up at the end of the year over on wages? 500,000?
If it stays the way that it has the past 2 months, I think it'll be very close to what it is now, between 350 and 400,000 over due to overtime. But the last 2 months have been very, very good. We've been close to fully staffed in almost all positions except maintenance. And if we continue to stay there, I think we'll be in a good position.
Yeah, and we have the budget since the other things are coming in low. I was just curious.
Any more questions?
I just looked back at February and we were 428 over at that point. So it's coming down.
It is going down. We have monitored it every payroll.
For January.
And February and March look really well. We've been pleased with that.
And it's going down because we're paying less in overtime, but because we're better staffed.
Yes. Okay, any more questions?
Thank you. Okay, we'll move into our action items for the month. The first is our fiscal year 2026 budget and 5-year capital plan.
So the first resolution is 2025-09, requesting your approval of our budget and capital plan. So our fiscal year 26 operating budget totals $37,968,279, and the capital plan is $10,160,602. The budget and capital plan were reviewed by the Finance Committee on April the 11th, and the full board at the work session on April 16th. If there are any questions about this budget, we're happy to take those now, and we look forward to advancing this to the next step.
Make a motion to accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jamie. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for passing the budget, and our next resolution is the first expense for the new budget that we just passed. Resolution 2025-10, which is a resolution to purchase 10 paratransit cutaway vehicles. These 10 vehicles are purchased from the Kentucky Public Transit Association bid number 11, which allows us to purchase off that contract even though that we were not named on the original contract. We get those options for other agencies and use those through our procurement process to purchase those vehicles. We are waiting on an approval letter from the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. We expect no difficulty in getting that approved, but once that is done, we will move forward with the purchase of 10 vehicles at a not-to-exceed price of $1,342,739, And that comes from a mixture of funds, including the federal 5339, which is our formula bus facilities, and some support from 5307 state and local match. Any questions on that resolution?
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lydia. All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. And the next resolution is 2025-11, which is a resolution to award a contract for HVAC maintenance services. This is a regular recurring item of business. An RFP was issued in January with proposals received in March. We did an evaluation of the 3 responsive proposals, which were Alpha Mechanical, Comfort Processing Solutions, and Madison HVAC. Staff is recommending Alpha Mechanical Services for this award, which would be for 1 year with 2 options to extend for 1 year each, for a total of 3 possible contract years. The pricing outlined is $103.50 per hour straight time, $155.25 at overtime, $207 for double time and holiday pay. There's also a truck and fuel charge of $120 per truck per trip. The source of funding for this procurement would be our federal 5307 preventive maintenance funds with the state match. Any questions on that one? That's Chris.
Are they the incumbent?
Are they the incumbent?
Not really.
Did the incumbent give a reason for not bidding? Okay. Any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, George. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is a change order report. We do have 2 change orders. This is for information purposes. No action is needed from the board. The first is DC Elevator, which is our elevator maintenance team. We have an increase in cost of labor supplies of $77.24 annually. So that'll bring our total to $490.12 annually. So any questions on DC Elevator? All right, if not, the next change order is for our maintenance CNG construction project from Tecton Construction. This change order is for $759.02 to adjust the size of a door. So we wanted a little extra clearance in that door, $759 to get that done. Have any questions on that?
I had a question. So our contract with DC Elevator is just for $490 a year for elevator maintenance?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
I'm looking at Deanna and Chris. Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Mostly for inspections.
Yeah.
Okay.
That concludes our change order report.
Fantastic. Any old business?
I have none.
Any new business?
I have none.
Okay. Let us know about our proposed agenda items.
So first item on our proposed agenda for next month will be our DBE goal setting and report. We have our DBE public meeting scheduled for tomorrow. That will kick off the public input period for our DBE program plan that will guide us for the next 3 federal fiscal years. And we plan to report out to the board on what we find through that process. So we will have a new DBE goal before the board next month. Second is a microtransit feasibility study update. We are getting closer to wrapping up that project, and we feel like this is the appropriate time to advise the board and inform the board on what we found. Our public survey closed, I believe, at the end of last week or early this week. We've not gone through that data quite yet, but we will get that and package that for the board. And lastly, I want to get a head start on our meeting schedule for next fiscal year. If anyone has any proposed adjustments to our meeting schedule, please let me know. Otherwise, I will propose again the same time, 4th Wednesday of the month at 10 a.m.
It's already on the calendar.
Yes, and I also want to go ahead and get the Finance Committee as part of that as well. That'll be a little change from what we've done before. And that's all the proposed agenda items that I have for next month.
Okay. Any need for closed session?
Can I ask a real quick
yeah,
question?
sure.
The DBE goal was like 2.5%,
2.3, yes.
and then we set a goal ourselves? When you say
Um,
we'll bring a goal back to the board?
No, yeah, this is the time to evaluate that 2.3%, score us on how well we've done, put it back into the FTA formula and come up with a new one. So we will replace that 2.3%.
Thank you.
If there's no need for closed session, then we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.